Hello, you're watching TVP World Talks. I'm Yulia Sirko. Ukraine continues to struggle against another wave of Russian atrocities, with many cities plunged into darkness and cold by Moscow's drone barrages. New threats continue to emerge as well, such as Russia obtaining Starlink terminals to guide their projectiles. And the Kremlin maintains a hardline stance in negotiations with the US, despite having now lost an estimated 1.2 million troops in exchange for modest territorial gains. Joining us now to discuss the current situation is Yulia Sirko, Ukrainian MP, representing the Voice party. Hello and welcome to TVP World.
Hello from Ukraine.
So first of all, let's talk about the most recent Russian war crimes. An attack on a train, a civilian train, has killed 5 people, but there were over 300 people on that train, so the number of casualties could have been much, much higher. What can you say about situations like that?
Yes, that's true. So around 5 people killed and many injured, including small kids. So most of these people, they're coming from the war zones, or they're evacuating from the heavy shell territories, and Russians even targeting civilian trains. And this is, I mean, one of the many cases. Though they've done it before, but before it was not so many people killed. But now we see that the attacks became more and more aggressive and killing people running away from the war. So I think it's even not a war crime; it's genocide, because it's 100% civilians who are traveling by these trains and trying to escape war, and mostly women with kids.
Do you think that Russia wants to use this strategy deliberately to sway public opinion in Ukraine, thinking, okay, so if we commit acts of terrorism, ordinary Ukrainians will have enough and they will pressure the government into some sort of compromise, a kind of compromise that would be damaging to Ukraine but beneficial to the Kremlin?
Yes, I think this is one of the strategies. They are trying to scare civilians, women, kids, and they think that it will make any difference for them. But I don't think, because the effect is completely opposite. People are angry not about Ukrainian authorities, but about Russian, and even people who speak Russian. Because most of these eastern territories, they are Russian-speaking people, and they were not supporting but neutral to Russia and to Kremlin. But now they are really angry about. So even these people who were neutral now against Kremlin. So Kremlin basically doing they achieved completely opposite results. So more and more Ukrainians blaming and against Kremlin, Putin, and Russia than they expected.
Now, Russia, unfortunately, is also trying new tricks, including using Starlink terminals. They're obtaining them through third countries and strapping them to drones, allowing for greater accuracy and making these drones immune to electronic warfare. Now, do you think there is a way to stop this? How should Western partners of Ukraine react to these reports?
I think Western partners, including Poland and Minister Sikorsky, already reacted, but they got a very strange reply from American side, because the only nation who could stop it, it's US, United States, because Starlink, fully controlled by Elon Musk and US government. So without their permission, I don't think it is possible to use Starlinks in Russia. And they can switch it off like in 3 minutes, because they control Starlink also by regions and territories. They can do it, and we saw it in Ukraine when they switched off it like in 2 or 3 minutes without any notification, prior notification. So the only, as I said, the only nation who could do it is the Americans, but somehow they went another way. They permitted Russians to use Starlink, which is very dangerous for Ukraine and for Western countries as well, because Starlink is the most probably advanced technology for the very precise and for targeting. So I think it's a very bad message from US side.
Do you have any hopes that the current negotiations will bring about results within a reasonable time frame? Apparently, the question of territory is the only one left, but it is the most difficult issue also.
It's the most difficult issue, not also because of the territories. It's because of the it's a military, strategic, very strategic military. Land. So if we will lose this Donbas region, as US and Russians suggested, then we will give an opportunity and invitation for Putin to invade further to other regions, Ukrainian regions like Dnipro and other cities around, because it's a very strategic place. That's why Russians want it, not because they want even more land, but or Donbas or Russian-speaking people, but they want a strategic military advantage. That's why I think this is very, first of all, difficult and no-go, dead-end discussions about these concession of Donbas. And also, I think legally it's also almost impossible. I don't think that Russians accept military, they will get anything of these territories, because most of these territories basically burned. No people, no buildings, nothing. It's just a burned land.
A burnt land through which Russia is making very, very slow progress. Apparently, the kind of progress that we've last seen during World War I, actually, trench warfare. Now, another question. In Europe, there are also certain difficulties concerning Ukraine's negotiations. Hungary still opposes the Ukrainian membership of the European Union. We recently had Viktor Orban saying that we as Europeans have to accept that you cannot have a border between NATO and EU countries and Russia, because Russia always responds with war. What do you think of this argument?
I think it's a wrong argument, because I mean, if Russia will occupy the Ukraine because of such leaders as Orban, then Europe will have immediate border with Russia, because Ukraine will be occupied by Russia. So I think this is completely wrong argument. The benefit for joining European Union, Ukraine for European Union. And the benefit for European Union is that Ukraine will always geographically be between Russia and Europe, even as a member state. So most probably will not become a NATO member immediately. Maybe it will be in next decade, but the membership is completely different thing. So anyhow, we will be between Russia and Europe, and this is very beneficial for Europe, because we have the strongest army in Europe. So we actually can, and we have a capabilities to protect eastern borders of European Union. So this argument completely opposite to what actually in reality.
Now, for the final question, I would like to take a step back from the negotiations, from major politics. Ordinary people watching the situation in Kiev and other Ukrainian cities, seeing the Russian atrocities being committed, what would you say an ordinary person watching this can do in order to help Ukraine survive in these difficult moments? Possibly the most difficult it has been during this war.
I think people can help humanitarian with a humanitarian help. We need a lot of generators and any kind of equipment which can produce independent energy, electricity. So mini heating stations and generators, etc., just to provide heat for schools, for hospitals, for big residential buildings, etc., etc. So So I think this will be very, very useful. If somebody can contribute to this, we will be very grateful and very grateful. But we are grateful and thank you anyhow, because you helped us a lot. So
Yulia Sirko was
actually,
yes. Yes, please do continue, yes.
No, I'm saying that we are already grateful, even if you will not contribute anything to heating and energy. But if you can, do it, please, because this is for women, for kids, for schools, for just basic life, I would say.
And luckily, the fundraisers have been going on in Poland, in the Czech Republic as well, and many other countries. So we still can see the empathy for a country at war against Russia, that is Ukraine. Yulia Sirko was our guest today here on TVP World. Thank you very much for joining us and for sharing your insight.
Thank you.
And I'm Jonasz Lewiński. You're watching TVP World. Please stay with us.